For more on this, Chris Plante and Leslie Marshall, both are syndicated radio talk show hosts. Leslie is a Fox News contributor. I'll start with you first, Chris. What lessons can be learned from that Georgia special election?
That throwing $8.3 million at a congressional race with mostly outside money doesn't necessarily guarantee victory. Even with a full court press from the news media, from the New York Times, the New Yorker magazine, CBS News, CNN, everyone, full court press, even the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, on pushing the Democrat in this case, Ossoff, and still they weren't able to pull out. Look, they didn't just throw the kitchen sink at this. They threw the entire kitchen at this, and they rolled the dice. They were going to pull this out for weeks and weeks. There was a campaign, and still they weren't able to pull it out, and I suspect that that does not bode well for them in the June 20th actual election.
And then, Leslie, we look ahead to the state of Montana, where there are national implications there as well.
Well, I think Montana is very different than Georgia, in which I totally disagree with Chris. No big surprise that it was very successful in a win. In Montana, I don't think Democrats are taking this race seriously, and I think they should. The fact that we don't see the DNC and other Democratic organizations putting any money or running any ads in this race in Montana is evident that they consider this a winless race. But if you look at this Democrat who is a folk singer, and he is a Montana native guy who is very well liked by the people, he started showing up with 70 people there. He has hundreds now, so there certainly is some momentum, and it is very grassroots. He doesn't have the type of money that his opponent does. This is a very red state. I would be lying to say that I would think that, you know, he's going to win by a huge margin. But the fact that we're even having these conversations in places like Montana and Georgia, with the number of people and the amount of support and the percentages we're seeing for Democrats, is definitely a referendum on our president.
All right, and you're both talking about money involved here, and if you look at some of these, the Senate Democrat incumbents running for re-election in states President Trump won last November, look at some of the big money that we're seeing there. I mean, Joe Manchin, $556,000, Joe Donnelly, $1.3 million. These numbers grow all the way to Senator Claire McCaskill, $2.8 million. There's obviously some big money being thrown at these races.
Yeah, you know, and honestly, look, $8.3 million in this race that nobody was paying attention to. The Democrats decided to make this something of a litmus test. And Leslie, if this is a win, you called it a win. If losing is winning, then I'd like to see the Democrats continue to win like this. Listen, the Republicans split the field between 11 different candidates. So they came up with 48.2% of the vote, while the Democrat got 48.1% of the vote. But that was with the full court press, all the money. Are you really all the California, New York, and Massachusetts people that gave the first time around are going to give again the second time around, when it's much less likely that they're going to pull out the win? Again, it's a loss for the Democrats. They put everything in here, and they lost. So if that's a win, keep winning.
And, of course, Democrats continue to like to talk Russia, 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 right, Leslie? And Congressman Adam Schiff had something to say about the Russia investigation and where that's headed. Listen to this.
When can we expect another hearing from your committee?
Well, you know, I'm happy to report that our committee is really back on track. We have a new Republican lead, Mike Conaway of Texas. I think he's a very serious guy. We've had a number of good conversations since he took the Republican reins.
So where is this going to go, Chris?
Oh,
well,
I think it's going to. Oh, sorry.
I look forward to getting to the bottom of this too. I don't think there's going to be a lot there from the Trump camp. I think if there was anything there, it would have been leaked long ago. I'd like to look into the Clinton campaign, Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton's involvement there. And if I may, just a departure for a moment, there was another tie to the Trump campaign and Vladimir Putin on the South Lawn of the White House a few minutes ago, and that the owner of the Patriots, Robert Kraft, had one of his Super Bowl rings stolen from him by Vladimir Putin. True story.
Okay. Leslie, back on track, as the committee apparently is, according to Congressman Schiff. He says that Devin Nunes cast a cloud over the investigation. Look, when you look at what's happening on both sides of the aisle, a lot of money being thrown to bring this full circle, being thrown at these key races, this continues to be a bit of a cloud over the president.
Well, it's not just a cloud over the president. Polls show a majority of Americans want the truth. They want to know what's going on, and there is a lot going on. I mean, Mike Flynn asked for immunity. You don't ask for immunity unless you need immunity, and you don't get refused immunity unless the people refusing, which in this case is the FBI, has bigger fish to fry and doesn't need your information and testimony. We do know there is a dossier. We do know that Mr. Steele is willing to speak to people in the United States, fearful to come to the United States. We do know there were FISA warrants, especially for Mr. Carter. I'm sorry, but if it looks like, again, if it sounds like a duck, it's got webbed feet, it's a duck. Something's going to come of this. I don't think it's a grassy knoll. I don't think it's a conspiracy theory.
All right, well, the words from the White House today on the state of things, Sean Spicer saying, hey, look back to November, we did pretty well. He said, I'm very confident about the state of the Republican Party. Chris, Leslie, good to see both of you. Thank you.